So what other horrors did the early church conduct, aside from the suppression of the Gnostics? The genocide of the Albigensians, one of the most brutal treatments of people anywhere and at any time period in history. This is where some of the most ruthless medieval torture came out of, from people who considered themselves Christian and holy people. The work of purging inconvenient competing spiritual knowledge was certainly not limited to the early church. Most people have heard of the Christian crusades of the Middle Ages. These military campaigns included the infamous Albigensian crusade of the early 13th century. The Albigensian crusade was a 20-year military campaign initiated by Pope Innocent III to eliminate the Christian sect known as the Cathars. This is where we get the word cathartic. The Cathars in the Languedoc region of southern France. While the Cathars they could be considered an extremist ascetic sect. They really believed in the purging of the physical and the primacy of the spiritual, which was sort of imbalanced. And they really lived a very ascetic lifestyle. They still taught against the idea of false authority being vested in any worldly institutions, especially church or state. So you could consider that they were anarchists, or at least anarchic. And I'm telling you, the ways that they were tortured is, the realm of nightmares. Here's Pope Innocent, very innocent. He said, anyone who attempts to construe a personal view of God which conflicts with church dogma must be burned without pity. And he's not talking about like spiritually burned or like, I'm going to really light you up verbally. He meant burned with fire to the death. And they lit people on fire, doused them in oil, lit them on fire. Very Christian of them. Very Christ-like. They broke people at the rack, putting them on a torture wheel and snapping their bones with hammers, or stretching them, lighting fires under their feet, burning all the skin off their feet till they bled out. The strappado was another medieval instrument of torture, where somebody's arms were tied behind their back, and then they were hoisted up via a pulley system with their arms behind their back and all their weight. And eventually they would suffocate like that. It's like crucifixion. Very Christian behavior. And, the souls that underwent this torture, I still think they're not at rest. From understanding some of the stories of the Languedoc region of southern France, these souls are still, wandering in some cases and not at peace because of the kind of tortures that they underwent. That's what the early church did and the medieval church did. Fake Christians, if there ever were,